about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So to blood test or not to blood test? That is the question. Many of you have not had a blood test. What does the blood test check for? Well, it depends. If your medical provider is doing a physical on you, depending on your age, they may include a blood count, like a CBC, to check your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your clotting factors, see signs of anemia. They may do a comprehensive panel that looks at your sodium and your potassium and your liver function panel and your glucose and sugar level and BUN and creatinine, which looks at your kidney function. They may check your thyroid to see if you're having issues with your metabolism or your fatigue or your hair growth or your weight. They may do a urinalysis to see if you have signs of infection or losing protein, issues with your filtering, issues with your liver, blood in the urine. Sometimes they just stop there. If, depending on insurance and depending on your age and depending on what you need, they may add a PSA for your prostate. They may add testosterone. They may add vitamin D to see if you're vitamin D deficient. If you're having symptoms of vitamin deficiency, fatigue, muscle weakness, metabolism issues, depression, anxiety, they numbness, tingling, they might add some other tests. I think magnesium should be checked more often. I think your potassium's usually checked pretty often, but your vitamin B12. And so when patients tell me, they call up, they're having symptoms. I'm like, when was your last blood test? Like, oh yeah, I get my blood checked all the time. Good. For what? Well, my testosterone doctor. He checks my testosterone. Has he checked your thyroid? Has he checked your B12? Has he checked, So it really depends on what you have. And so I know people think we doctors run too many tests, but we're kind of going to a phase where we're not running enough. And I can't stand seeing misdiagnosis. For example, I'll see young individuals sustain a fracture of their foot or hand or wrist or something. And when I ask about the trauma that caused that fracture, they go, I don't know. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't a bad fall. It wasn't somebody stepped on my foot. Well, I'm going to be doing some blood work on you because I'm going to want to see if your parathyroid could be off. If you sustained a fracture and we do a bone density scan and it looks like your bone density is pretty low, and that might be why the smallest amount of trauma is causing you to fracture, then what could be causing that? Well, a parathyroid issue. Because parathyroid hormone could leach calcium out of your bones and thin your bones. I might check your hormones to see if you're perimenopausal. So, there's a lot of things we could do. And so, unfortunately, people are diagnosing themselves because they're not going to the medical provider. They're using telemedicine. So, there was somebody who had called up saying, yeah, I need muscle relaxers. What? Well, because I get kind of spasms and sometimes my muscles hurt. Could your muscles hurt because of your calcium level? Could it hurt because of your potassium, because of your magnesium? We need to fix the problem. A nice article here talking about signs of low potassium. If your potassium is low, muscle weakness, fatigue, your heartbeat could become irregular, sometimes serious. High blood pressure, cramps, spasms. You could have digestive issues like constipation, bloating, abdominal cramping. You could have mood changes. And potassium can also play a role in your bone density. So if your potassium is low, you could have increased risk of osteoporosis. Now, why would I be bringing up potassium? How many people have low potassium? Well, I think a lot more, because many of you who feel like you're swollen, you're on your feet, or you're sitting a lot, and you don't want to have cankles, you're taking diuretics. Or you're calling up telemedicine companies asking for diuretics. Diuretics make you urinate more. And these medications that are diuretics that were originally designed for people with high blood pressure or congestive heart failure or fluid overload are being used ubiquitously now to give people sexy ankles. Well, they're going to drop your potassium. And dropping your potassium can be pretty, serious. So I think for those of you who don't have a regular doctor that are using telemedicine, and I get it. I think telemedicine is great, especially during inclement weather and other things. You should still be having regular panels done. And I understand telemedicine is starting to do that, where a doctor you meet online could run your blood work, but make sure they go over everything. Make sure you get a copy. Make sure certain things get followed up on. And for those of you that aren't sure where your potassium level is, make sure you're eating, diets that are rich in salmon, tomatoes, spinach, sweet potatoes, avocados, oranges, bananas, lentils, beans, even yogurt can increase your potassium. In fact, when I was in medical school, they said there was more potassium. By the way, I give credit for this article to the Hearty Soul. That's but I'm telling you on my own, I remember in medical school, they said an orange has more potassium than a banana. Because I have a lot of people say I can't stand bananas. I get that. I'm not really good with bananas. Unless that banana is covered in chocolate or in a banana split or it's firm, I cannot stand mushy bananas. I can't do it. I can't do it. No. Well, you can get your potassium in oranges, avocado, sweet potatoes, spinach, tomatoes, salmon. So the moral of this segment is we do have control. Diet is essential to make sure you're getting the vitamins you need. But if you don't feel right and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, ask if they've checked your levels. Most of the time, potassium is checked. But sometimes your vitamin D or your B12 or your magnesium or other things could be off. And those need to be checked separately. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Twitter, Dr. Daliah, Facebook, Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. Okay, so my sons are Gen Zs. I have a lot of Gen Z students. I love the Gen Zs, but we have a lot of criticism about their generation. Some of these things are because of the way society is now changing. And I read this article, and I've heard from many of you with your concerns. In fact, wasn't there one store owner that says, "Will not hire Gen Z here"? And I understand that generations like the baby boomers didn't like the Gen X's. The Gen X's didn't like the millennials. The millennials didn't like and I understand that there's been some back and forth. I love everybody. So that's just me. But these stereotypes are kind of fascinating because if Gen Zs are going to be stereotyped and unhireable, we might want to relook at what we might be taking on as society and maybe considering taking a different direction. So this article, let me give credit where credit's due, comes from Societe US. And it says 20 reasons employers find Gen Z unemployable. Won't even give them a try, unemployable. One is they say lack of experience. They say Gen Zs are jumping straight into a lucrative career, not getting student debt, starting to skip college, but they want to go right into, they don't want to do the, like I worked at Jack in the Box, fast food, and slowly start to work up and, work as many jobs as I could to learn things and then apply for a suit. They are noticing that many Gen Zs want to go right to the suits. Good for them. But that's a concern that some employers have. An overemphasis on technology. They say even though being tech savvy is an asset, they say Gen Z's association or obsession, with technology can be a drawback because there's a lot of teamwork and collaboration and the ability to do face-to-face interactions. And so some employers feel that Gen Zs are not good with, let's have a one-on-one meeting, all right? Or go and speak to the person or pavement pound. Unrealistic salary expectations. Now, this is interesting. All right. They are saying that Gen Zs are asking for salaries where the employers don't think they'll ever make them happy. Now, this is one thing that I might agree on. I am seeing Gen Zs say, I'm not going to take a job for less than $100,000, 6 figures. Now, it took me years to make that, to get to that level. Now, mind you, that was in the 90s and 2000s, but a 6-figure job for somebody who's 24 years old, I get that there's others out there and dream and don't settle. I support Gen Zs wanting to do that. But when other Gen Zs like Mike Zuckerberg is millennial, but when people see other individuals make millions or even billions of dollars, they're not going to want to work for a $10 an hour job or a $16 an hour job. And so employers are finding that a little frightening because to give somebody a 6-figure salary, they kind of want experience. The job hopping tendencies. This is something that I listen to my kids and their Gen Z friends where you don't work at one place for 20 years. You're supposed to job hop. Your experience is not based on you being at one company. It's you being at multiple companies. Whereas a baby boomer or a Gen X could say, you haven't held a job for longer than 1 or 2 years. What's wrong? Gen Zs, you start getting antsy. Now, I'm not saying all Gen Zs, but a lot of Gen Zs have told me, I've been at this place for 2 years. I'm going to have to bounce. Why? It's a good job. Why? Well, because I have to show I've been to I've had multiple jobs and multiple roles. Well, if your employer is of the mindset of, well, we want to know you're stable and not going to leave in 24 months, that could be a problem. So you see, there's a little bit of a disconnect that we need to figure out how to iron out. Some people feel Gen Zs have lack of discipline, where they don't take the working world serious enough. And many Gen Zs may get fired within the first few weeks of employment. Those of us who grew up in the olden days, we were like, okay, getting fired sucks. Getting fired can follow you. You don't want to get fired. You never want to get fired. You also don't want to quit and get a name for yourself where, you're lazy or you're a troublemaker. And so you learn how to adapt. Now, I'm not saying a Gen Z, remember, Gen Zs are smarter. Okay? Gen Zs are smarter than a lot of us. I'm Gen X, where, I don't have to sit at a job that sucks. Okay. If the job sucks or there's toxic people, I don't care what people think. I'll tell them I'm out of here. Why would I waste any time? They're smarter than us. But we are of the thinking that still doesn't change. We're of the thinking of, well, look, no job is going to be 100% perfect. So you learn to live with it. You learn how to make it work. You're getting a paycheck. You're supporting yourself. You're eating. And then field new offers. So many, if Gen Z doesn't, if some in Gen Z don't fear you're fired, then getting fired was traumatizing. Now, after COVID, people getting laid off, and it doesn't sting. So the threat of, well, if you don't do your job, or if you don't show up in time, or you keep calling out same day, you're going to get fired, might not necessarily be as much of a threat to Gen Z. Some employers are noticing poor interview skills. Now, is this because many of them have been doing online classes? Is it because many of their high school years were online and they weren't necessarily among others? Is it because their English is not as fluent? Once you could type and text and you don't have to have conversations with people, your vocabulary may not be challenged. And so they're finding some individuals might not do well from an interview standpoint. They also are finding inferior language skills. Because of social media, they might not necessarily be picking up new terminology, using that thesaurus, looking up other words. And one thing I'm hearing from a lot of generations is the heightened sensitivity. So many people do not want to have a lawsuit. They don't want to say the wrong things. Not everybody is getting the memo. So if you watch, Friends reruns are on at night. When you watch Friends and you see some of the things that were said, you're like, whoa, that's a little bit Modern Family. I've been watching some Modern Family reruns. And there was an episode where Phil was trying to navigate all three women in their family having their period. And it was not politically correct. And it was, and I get it, it was a popular episode and all that. But if you're still of the mindset where, oh, you're having a bad day, are you on your period? You could get yourself into big trouble. And so if an employer feels like they're not going to be able to say the right thing or get themselves in, there are terms that you can't say anymore. In fact, somebody said you can't say, are you triggered? Now, just 2 months ago, that was the term. I'm triggered. I feel triggered. That triggers me. But if you ask an employee if they're getting triggered, that could be used against you. So some employers are just so scared and they're just so worried that they can't say, or, you're not doing a good job. You're going to be put on probation. If they feel like they can't talk to their employee, because we've gone the other way of trying to make sure that, workplace etiquette and discourse is more productive, that could, possibly cost a Gen Z an opportunity. A lot of competition. They say the job market now is highly competitive. Gen Z is competing with more experienced candidates from previous generations, making it harder to stand out. That could be preventing Gen Z's remote work preferences. Many Gen Zs love remote work. So when there's a job saying, oh, it's on site, how much of this can I do remote? And then, networking. Networking is very, very interesting. We had to, with the older generations, join clubs, join groups, go to church, temple, meet people. You know what? I'm going to meet them face to face. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to join this group. I'm going to learn about this so I could connect. We've learned to connect online. And connecting with somebody on Facebook or Instagram isn't the same as in person. And they're finding that if you have, let's say, somebody that might be of that generation, say, look, we want to start getting in with JP Morgan. So find ways to start making relationships with people. They might be, well, I'll just go to online, which might work, but it might not be the most effective. So, I love Gen Zs. As I said, they're one of the smartest generations yet, but they have some obstacles, especially when we
Dr.
have
Daliah here.
such a divide.
Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So in political news, the House has passed a resolution to condemn Vice President Kamala Harris as President Joe Biden's failed border czar. The measure passed 220 to 196. Daily Mail is saying all Republicans and 6 Democrats voted to, quote unquote, condemn her. And Kamala Harris, I don't know if I would have done this yet. I would wait till she is the nominee before we know Kamala Harris is not very popular. And insiders have said this was not Obama's first choice per se. And I know Obama has been Barack Obama has been a guide for the Democrats in a while, and what happened with Joe Biden leaves a lot of speculation as to who's running things and who is making decisions. But this, saying that Kamala Harris failed as a border czar, we know. I would wait till after the Democratic convention, ensure that she is the nominee before going with the criticism, because then, there's still time for the Democrats to say she can't win either. And so there are other candidates that would do better than her for the Democrats. And so if the Republicans are trying to do any strategy and we are seeing her Israel stance, her boycott of Netanyahu, giving free medical care to migrants when our homeless veterans are out there dying and with no shelter and medical care. There's a lot you could criticize about Kamala Harris. I would just wait until it's official. Just because I think she's not going to win, and the Democrats could then very easily pick somebody, better, which to help the Democratic Party, what the Republicans would help them by doing that. But right now, there is this condemnation. Republicans have highlighted the fact that she was put in charge of stemming illegal immigration. It has exploded. There's been, at the very least, 8 million crossings, expected to reach up to 10 million by the end of September. And those are just the ones they're able to surmise, not including the gotaways and other things. And so House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik introduced a resolution condemning Kamala Harris's role as border czar, leading to the most catastrophic open border crisis in history. She says Biden's open border czar, Kamala Harris, and every elected Democrat owns this border crisis. And I try to be very fair. You are not going to be a vice president and allowed to change and do things that really need to be done that could outshine and go against the president's narrative. So if I am giving her the benefit of the doubt, my guess is when they told her you're going to be border czar, but don't do much. As I said, if you made me border czar, I would be there that day. I would see multiple points. I would be in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, all over, checking in with Florida. Going up to all the border agents, custom agents, tell them what do you need. I'm going to bring back this list and I'm going to make sure you get what you need. If it's the wall, we're going to build the wall. There's no way Biden would let me do that. That's why I wasn't Biden's vice president. And so if Kamala even suggested 1/10 of that and was told no, then it's not all her fault. But she still could have made an effort. She still could, but I do give vice presidents the benefit of the doubt where they are on a very, very short leash. And she cannot and lease as well. Yeah. She cannot necessarily be able to transform and outshine Biden. So she had to keep a back seat. Now she can fix that. She can fix that and say, look, guys, this is really what I wanted to do. You're making me sound incompetent. I wanted to put the wall back up. I wanted to reach out to all the Border Patrol agents, custom agents, give them the resources they need, make sure migrants weren't dying, being smuggled, being raped and attacked along the way, and mugged and robbed to get to the United States. I would have, made a clear message. I would have explained that, look, if you're going to vote, you need to show ID. She could do it, but she won't. So, what does that mean? What happens next? I'm not sure. I think it's in the books. She's not going to be kicked out of vice president. She's not going to, that's not necessarily, a Harrison poll said that immigration was the top concern of voters. I know many people think that for Democrats, it's abortion. It's no, Democrats are also worried about immigration. Now, they say in June, another poll found the majority of Americans, 62% were in favor of carrying out mass deportations to remove migrants who have recently arrived in America. And, this deportation thing is tricky because I'm biased because my family waited 20 years to get here. They took the classes, learned English, did their citizenship education, passed, got their citizenship, worked. It was a long process, but it was they got their citizenship, I think, relatively within a year or two of coming here, but they weren't able to come here after the Holocaust. They were only allowed a visa in the 60s. So they came, and I'm very grateful for that. But a lot of people who are, children of immigrants who did it the legal way, understand that there's a legal way. And if there was another way to do it, to cut the line, you get a little grumpy. You get a little salty that there could have been a way. But my family would have never cut the line. And the reason why is they would have been too afraid to get deported. And so for me, if I had a chance to make it to America, listen, during the Holocaust, I would have done whatever I could to save my family. But if I was in a safe area, as my family was in Israel, and I would say, no, I'm going to do it right. It is not worth going somewhere, being found illegal, and then I just couldn't be uprooted. I want to know that, my family is going to be able to have longevity here. And so right now, the Biden administration is like, no, nothing's going to happen to you. We got sanctuary cities. We got health care. You got food stamps. In New York, you're going to be given food cards. It's great. It's worth the risk. And that's what people are thinking. And so from a medical standpoint and healthcare standpoint, it's frightening because they're not, getting jobs where they can then have health care. And then there's not plenty of hospital and medical infrastructure so that the lines aren't out the door. Every time I try and tell a patient, look, you need to go to urgent care, they say, I can't get in. There's no more there's no more availability. We have too many people for our hospital infrastructure. Then we might need to slow down on taking in more people. It's not the birth rate. We are taking in millions of people, and our border towns and our hospitals and medical centers and our sanctuary cities are overwhelmed. Kamala Harris can fix that, but she won't. So, yeah, I whether it's ceremonial or not, at least it's in the books. You know, that and again, there's no way the Biden administration would let her outshine them. I kind of get the feeling she really wouldn't have done much anyway. How much of her experience is in foreign policy? How much of her experience is in that? I mean, I don't even think she went to the actual, she might have visited one city and that's about it. So, yeah. So who's in charge right now? Does Biden look like he's in charge? He didn't look well. A lot of makeup. That I don't think Biden's been in charge for a while. Whether it's Obama, whether it's Jill. So, is he going to retire? I get asked that. I thought that he would at the end to make a splash and to end his legacy on a high note for progressives. He would step down to allow Kamala Harris to be president, to help her with the reelection. But he needs to get taken care of right away. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we're being told that there have been 7 cases this year of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome that have been confirmed in Arizona, 3 cases of which resulted in death. The syndrome, and this is being reported by Metro, severe. It can cause fatal respiratory illness after infection with the hantavirus. We don't mess around when it comes to hantavirus, and it can originate from rats. There have been 2 hantavirus cases in California and 1 death. Symptoms of hantavirus include fever, headache, muscle aches, and then you start to have restricted breathing. Hantavirus is found in deer mouse or deer mice in the Grand Canyon, in Arizona, they call it the Grand Canyon State, is not supposed to be spread from human to human, but it can. I think we are right now investigating how, we're seeing more rodent to humans, we are making sure that we're not looking at a possible human to human. But as of now, I don't know of any cases where it was human to human. So many areas in the southwestern region of the United States where there's rodent activity could unfortunately give a rise to cases. They say in Cononico County, I guess there was a case back in 2016. The syndrome was originally detected back in 1993 after infecting a Navajo tribe residing in the border of Arizona, New Mexico. 80% of the population who got it had died at the time. So public health officials are recommending that residents who have experienced rodent activity to follow certain cleanup procedures, to spray rodent droppings and nests with disinfectants like bleach, sealing and discarding them in the trash. Remember, your pets may want to eat poo-poo that likes to eat cat poo-poo and inspect everybody's poo-poo. That's why you want to bleach it first, contain it, make sure it's not by your other pets. Avoid dusting up infested areas. Clean it first. Residents are also advised to stop rodents from entering their homes. Seal holes larger than a 1/4 inch in diameter with a screen or cement, and use traps for mice found inside. Many of you have suggested we'll just get a cat. Okay, I have 3 cats. They love bringing the mice in. I have cats that'll find a mouse, find a snake, grab it, and bring it inside the house through the doggy door to show mommy and everybody what they've done. And I know when they do it because they start to meow, meow to get everybody's attention. Like, look at what I did. And here I am, 2:30 in the morning going, are you flipping kidding me? There's a snake in the house. Ridiculous. But that's just what my animals do. Do we have a cure? No, we don't. It's a virus. These viruses are rough. So, we are right now, like I said, offering that sort of warning to people so they understand that there could be risks involved. Rats, sadly, do come with a slew of illness. I had told you guys I never understood watching Tom and Jerry why the moms would scream and jump on a chair every time they saw Jerry. I was like, I asked my mom, what? That's ridiculous. Jerry is so cute. She's like, mice and rodents carry disease. Well, hantavirus is one of the ones that scare me. Absolutely. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Neil writes, let me see here. Clay and Buck are discussing who the best looking president ever was. What do women say? That's interesting. I've never found presidents or politicians to be very sexy. I thought Paul Ryan was kind of cute. Pete Buttigieg is kind of cute. I think Ronald Reagan probably I would choose as the most handsome. JFK was handsome, not my type, but he was handsome. He was good looking. I think Franklin Pierce, people say, was supposed to be pretty good looking. I don't remember him. I mean, I don't, obviously no photos. Some say Ulysses S. Grant was good looking. Abraham Lincoln, not my type. Yeah, I don't know. I have a type. So to me, somebody good looking would be, Barack Obama, is, not my type, handsome, and he's fit. So in terms of better looking presidents, you see him on the list as well. Bill Clinton, people thought he was cute. My type is, Viggo Mortensen, Michael Fassbender, Denzel Washington. Let me see who else. Yeah, that's just me. Orlando Bloom, I think, is very good looking. That's just me. So, I couldn't necessarily, say. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. It's so funny how these conversations rise about and these topics come up in the news, and people talk about them, and maybe it's because it's something different than politics. I'm really grateful for the listeners that I have, because we try to talk about a variety of topics. This show can't be about cholesterol all the time. It's just not, we try to give you guys the latest news. But it's interesting how this is what people are thinking. And that's why we take your questions. We take your comments. We want to know, what it is that you want to discuss. That's why we talk a lot about jobs. We talk a lot about employers. We talk a lot about relationships. We talk a lot about politics. These are things that you guys are concerned about. My show is not supposed to be what I want to talk about. If it was about what I want to talk about, it'd be about Lord of the Rings all the time. That's not what, or Die Hard. Oh, Bruce Willis. Love Bruce Willis. Anyway, in medical news, some advancements with HIV. A twice-a-year shot provides, from what we're being told, up to 100% HIV protection. Now, this could be an absolute game changer. In preventing HIV infection, this could be huge, especially in countries where they have huge epidemics of it. They say there's a study looking at young women and adolescent girls in Africa, and they said twice yearly injection of the drug lenacapavir provided total protection against HIV, 100% efficacy in phase 3 trial data. Drug maker is Gilead, and this was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And so we've really made a lot of advancements with PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis. We've had medications and antivirals, but being able to change this to injections so people don't have to take pills, which we do already have drugs on the market for that, can be phenomenal. HIV is one of the trickiest viruses out there, super smart. It knows how to evade us and not tell us that you're sick, like a cold and cough virus such as adenovirus or some of the coronaviruses where because you're coughing and sneezing and not to mention your body is spewing it out. HIV gets into your body and it knows how to hide. And it knows how to get into your body doing fun stuff like sex or drugs or whatever. So HIV can be very, very sneaky. And then of all the cells it decides to infect, it infects and attacks the one cell that kills it. And so it knows exactly where to go. And there's been a study saying not only the T cells, but also the phagocyte macrophages. And those are the cells responsible for killing the virus and discarding it. So HIV is very, very sneaky, very sneaky. And so being able to combat it, yes, it's taken 40 some years. Now, that doesn't mean we have absolute cure, but this is close. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Thanks for listening. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.